kush mi dever havod. He who yatzilcha mipak yakush midever ha'avot ba'avrato yasach lach v'tachat nafav tirtzeh tzina v'zochera amito lo tira mipachad laila מחץ יעוף יומה מדבר באופל יהלוך מכתב ישוט צהריים ייפול מציר כאלף ורבבה ממינך אליך לא ייגש בעיניך תביט בשילומת רשעים תראה כי אתה ארוני מחסי עליון שמת מעונך לא תאונה לך רעה ונגע לא יקרא באוהליך יקראני לעיניהו עמו אנוכי בצרה אחצהו ואכבדהו אורך ימים אספיהו והריהו בשועתי אורך ימים אספיהו ועיניהו בשועתי Al Mikomo Yavo v'Shalom. May Harry Minuk go unto God in peace, and we can all say, Amen. Adonai Natan v'Adonai Lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai Mevorach. God has given and God has taken away. May the name of the Lord be blessed. V'yashov ha'afar al ha'aretz k'shaya. Varuach tashuv el ha'elohim asher netana. The dust returns to the earth as it was, but the spirit returns to God who gave it. May Harry Minuk's soul be bound up in the bond of life eternal. Send comfort, God, to those who mourn. Grant strength to those whose burden is sorrow. And we can all say, Amen. The Jewish burial service is a collection of psalms and recitations. I like to begin by explaining this so you understand the power of you joining together here as a community. You're forming the Minyan, you're forming the group that makes us worthy together of sharing these psalms and recitations that then connect Harry's life with 3,000 years of tradition of the Jewish people, the people of Zion. So I'm going to begin in keeping with that. I'm going to begin with the traditional Psalm 23, which in Hebrew we refer to as Mizmor LeDavid. I'll first chant it in the Hebrew, and if you don't recognize it by the end of the psalm, I'll be translating it into the English, and then you'll see that it's universally known. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai roi lo echsar, binat ishe ya Rabbi tzayni, al mei menuchot yenaleini, nafshi yeshovev yanchaini, V'maglei tzedek leman shemo, kama ki elech v'geit al mavet lo yirara ki ata imadi, shivtecha u'mi shantecha eimai nachamuni, Tarach lefanai, shucha neged sorarai, dishan tavashemen roshi kosir ervaya, ach tov v'chesed yiradefuni, kol yemei chayai, v'shavti b'veit Adonai leorech yamim. God is my shepherd, I shall not want, giving me repose in green meadows, leading me beside the still waters to revive my spirit, guiding me on the right path, for that is God's essence. Though I walk through a valley of the shadow of death, I fear no harm, for you are with me. Your staff and your rod comfort me, and you prepare a banquet for me in the presence of my foes. You anoint my head, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and kindness shall be my portion all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of Adonai forever. And we can all say, Amen. One of Harry's favorite songs, well, there were two that I know of, Hava Nagila, and Hava Nagila Gila, to be more exact, and topped that, I think, is Avinu Malkeinu. So I have thoughts of him entering the synagogue, the memory that his family painted for me, shared with me, of their father at Chevre Mishnayos, right? Chevre Mishnayos, I got the right synagogue. Especially on the high holidays, when this prayer is most prominently enters our liturgy. And we add this special phrase, Avinu Malkeinu Katvenu B'Sefer Chaim Tovim. As soon as I say those words, those of you who have been to shul on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, you probably recognize them. Yesterday, I was in synagogue, my synagogue, leading a bar mitzvah, and I was using a different siddur, and I came across the words to Avinu Malkeinu, and I noticed that exact phrase was translated as, inscribe us in the book of happiness. This is the first time really that I've seen it translated that way, or maybe the first time I noticed. And I invite us to do so in honor of Harry Minuk. Happy Harry. Doesn't it make sense? Aloha Harry. And a person I have learned through talking to his children, Sheldon, Jeffrey, and Arlene, and his beloved wife, Annette, who was a man of great humility. And although that is not a direct quote from them, his children do describe a man, in not so many words, but when I put it all together, this is what I get. I hope I'm not wrong. I don't think I am. A man who was so down to earth, yet full of pride. a unique, treasured character that brought his family and many who knew him in his community and lifelong friends and new friends warmth, joy, support, and lots of laughter. And while I leave much of the honoring of Harry to some of his grandchildren, 2 of his grandchildren who will pay tribute to his memory on behalf of the family, there are a few things that I want to highlight so we can reflect and learn and be inspired by Harry's life, connected to the tradition of our people. At the center of his world was his loving family, his wonderful family. It began with a double date that actually happened because the other couple would not go out alone. So each of them brought a friend. And there we have it. Annette and Harry married October 16th, 1949. The backdrop of their lives until Harry's retirement, which was actually fairly early, and I think he was 50 or 51, was 7 days a week at the Bluebell grocery store, right in the heart of the North End, the source of sustenance for not only his family, but everyone who frequented the store, especially those in need, who couldn't afford to pay the whole bill. Harry kept little books tracking what others owed. Loans he didn't chase. Most of the time, tzedakah he gave from the goodness of his heart and his generous spirit. A very determined man, strong will. In that famous storm of 1966, when his kids described the severity as one would get lost on the driveway if you could make it out the door through the snow, Harry managed to get his car out of the driveway, miracle, and make it down the block only to have to hitch a ride and perhaps somehow the bus, I'm not sure how that gets into the story, and landed at Logan and Maine at the grocery store because after all, people would need their milk and bread in the storm. Storm wasn't going to stop him, regardless of the fact that this meant Harry was trapped in the grocery store sleeping for days on the freezer, or so the family folklore goes. He was a man, as I said, of strong will and determination and also hard work. And what's more, it seems to me that nothing was above him and nobody was beneath him. He taught his children the same work ethic, and they admired and respected him for how he not only worked hard, but also knew how to have fun and enjoy. He expected the same work ethic from those around him. This meant, the potato delivery person delivering the order was to unload the shipment completely or it was returned back to the shipper. Everyone in his family rolled up their sleeves and worked in the family store. This also meant when his daughter sold her grocery store, he went to work for the new owners to be sure all would be done just so. And why not? He was there for advice to his family and those who knew him well, too. He was famous for saying 2 things, well, many things, but 2 that his family could actually share with me. One was, don't worry, it will work out, because I'm told he didn't take everything too seriously. And the second one was, don't buy retail. He was a source of humor and support to all of his kids and to their spouses. And I've also learned that he was a role model for welcoming spirit and knowing how to do it. As Arlene described to me, he developed a special bond with her husband, Doug, once he got used to him being around, and especially after the untimely passing of both of Doug's parents. He loved roller skating and was good at it. And dancing the twist, even at 95, I'm told, with Shosh. He and Annette traveled the world, enjoying their time together and the people they met and the sights and the sounds of the world around them, especially Hawaii. The role of Zedek was his time to savor more moments with his family outside of his working life. He was then at the sidelines of games and plays, and he had saved, it seemed, the best of himself for finally arriving at the time to really be able to share and savor moments with everyone. Born in Winnipeg to Beryl and Untitled Minuk, January 26, 1926, one of many children, 6 in my count. Left to mourn his passing is his sister Yetta Levitt. And Norman and Molly and Evie and Clara are all of blessed memory now. He leaves this world on the 30th of Kislev in the Hebrew year of 5781, between the 6th and 7th day of Chanukah. A magnificent time to embrace the idea that the display of those flickering lights that we're supposed to put on our windowsill encourages us to and reminds us that we should be proud of our achievements, but also that it doesn't take too much. Only a little bit of oil, in fact, it's a metaphor, to bring out our happiness. And we look on to those flickering lights, and we're supposed to embrace the feeling of the light, not use the light to see with, but embrace the joy in that moment of being by the light. And I believe this was in many ways how Harry was able to live his life naturally. Harry's family shared with me what an honor it was for him when he was asked to join the other Kohanim on the Bima to share in what's called duchening, which is the priestly blessing. And it's really the priestly blessing on the congregation. And I imagine in this moment for Harry, everything came together for him. Because this was a moment through an act of ritual practice that he could bestow his best wishes on others for their happiness, their well-being, and their own goodness in life. He did this in the best way a mensch could, not for his own ego, not because he had some magical power unequal to anyone else, but because he really wanted others to feel all those blessings as well. So may the future generations of his family, his wife Annette, his children Arlene and Doug and Sheldon and Shosh and Jeffrey and Harriet, his grandchildren Kimberly and Chris and Blake and Chelsea and Haley and Chris and Kevin and Simi and Harel, his great children Kyler and Cruin and Charlotte and Sonny, his many nieces and nephews and his sister Yetta, be inspired to carry his blessing forward. May you be inscribed for many years in the book of happiness, remembering Harry's smiling face, the sound of his laugh, and the goodness of his heart. Tehini shatot rabetzor chayim, may his soul be bound up in the bond of life. May he forever rest in peace. And we can all say Amen. It's an honor for me to now call on Blake and Kevin, who are going to share some further words of tribute for their Zedek.
Thank you. I would like to say a few words and share a few stories about my grandfather. My grandfather, Harry Minuk, was a special man and a great role model who exemplified kindness, caring, and being a mensch. He had an unbelievable work ethic, and it showed through his many years in the grocery business. His unique personality and big heart helped shape me into the person I am today and touch many lives. We are blessed to know such an amazing person. He enjoyed coming to all his grandchildren's sporting events and taking us to Bomber games and going with him to places like Hawaii. My grandfather I'll share with you a couple brief stories. My grandfather was an equal opportunity employer. When the lone employee at Holiday Foods was not available to schlep some boxes of groceries into the store, you'd regularly see a passing street person be recruited, and then this person would proudly become his number one employee for the next 30 minutes. If no person was around, he would grab a passing office worker, accountant, lawyer, construction worker, all creed and color. My grandfather did not discriminate. Compensation was the same for all, turning fruit, maturing pastries, and canned drinks close to or at expiry. My grandfather was also well known at Sid Minuk's car center. I can remember him giving us a list to pick up a repaired car, and in a loud, half-joking voice, in front of waiting customers, tell Sid the charges were criminal and he must be kidding. To quiet my grandfather, Sid would quietly knock off some money, and then my grandfather would slip us 100 to help soften the blow. Sid would tell my dad that he would see my Zeta coming and brace himself, but also admiringly say your father was a great character. My grandfather was also generous to his grandchildren, but also did not undermine our sense of earning something. He helped me buy my first car, but I was expected to contribute, which allowed me to feel that I actually bought the car by working, but also to be grateful for help. He did not hold this over our head, and I would like to think it created some mutual respect. Love you, Zeta. Thank you.
So, when I think of my Zeta Harry, I obviously think about his unique sense of humor and the fact that he was a true character. And I know everyone here is probably quite cold right now, and as Zeta would say, that's because none of you look so hot. My Zeta's sense of humor was unmatched, and he truly didn't give a care what others thought about it. My favorite memories of him are being in Hawaii, and something as simple as just riding the elevator with him at the Sheraton in Waikiki provided endless amounts of entertainment and hilarity, because at the Waikiki, at the Sheraton where he would stay with my Baba during the winters, you were either likely a Jewish person from Canada or you were Japanese and couldn't speak a word of English. So every time a Japanese person who couldn't speak English would come into the elevator and I'd be in there with Zeta, they were all called Yussel. He'd ask them for Chinese wassels and dehydrated flies, and then ask if they were from Vadelsville or Pincher Creek. And I promise Zeta that I'm going to continue living out his sense of humor and carrying out that his unique character and lust for life. So he was a great man and he will be missed. Thank you. Love you, Zeta.
I'm going to share with you now the words of the El Malei Rachamim, God full of mercy and compassion. El Malei Rachamim, Shochein B'Meromim, Hametzem Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, B'Ma'alot Kedoshim Uteharim Kizohar Rakia Masirim Anishmat Tzvi Ben Dov HaKohen V'Taivel Shalach Leolamo V'Gan Eden Tiyeh Menuchato Anaba Larachamim Astirayu B'Seter Knafech Leolamim Utzror b'tzror chaim et nishmato Adonai unachalato Ve'yanuach b'shalom al mishkavo V'nomar Amen. Exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and the good, to the soul of Tzvi, the son of Dov the Kohen, and Tybal, who has gone to his eternal home. Merciful one, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May his soul be bound up in the bond of life. May he forever rest in peace. And we can all say Amen. Just for a few moments before the family recites the Kaddish, which brings the service to a conclusion, we do need to place a few shovelfuls of earth into the casket, into the grave. To cover the casket, we want to try and get about 1 layer full. So I'm going to ask members of his family who are able to come forward first. The shoveling of earth, you can go while I talk, is considered the highest act of chesed shel emet, of loving kindness. The bucket of, I think it's sand or earth, should be easier to use, and you can even just use your gloves and put in a few handfuls. And we're just trying to show our intention that we are covering the grave before the family is going to say Kaddish. You can come around this side too, and we can get the 4 shovels going at the same time if you're able to, just for a few moments, and then we'll say Kaddish. Okay, we'll pause for a moment to have the family join together in the words of the Kaddish, and then anyone who is able and willing to come forward to continue placing earth may do so. Here are the words of the Kaddish, together with me. Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabah, Be'alma divara kirutei ve'amlich malchutei, B'chayachon uvyomechon uvchaye dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala uvizman kariv imramein, Yehei Shmei Rabba Mevorach Leolam U'Me'al Maya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalel, Shmei Dekudesha Barichu, Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, Da'amiran Be'alma v'imramein, Yehei Shlama Rabba min Shemaya, V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imramein, Oseh Shalom b'imramav, Uyaseh Shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. The Shiva that now continues after everyone's had an opportunity who would like to fill some more shovels of earth into the grave is private, so you're welcome to fill some earth in the grave and then comfort the mourners and leave as you wish. But I'd like to finish with a final blessing that the rest of us who are here that are not immediate mourners or grandchildren are able to say to bless the family, and it goes like this. I'll say one word, and if you wouldn't mind repeating each one, that would be lovely. Hamakom Yenachem Etchem B'toch She'ar Avlei Sion V'Yerushalayim. So that's our hope, that you, the Minuk family, and all those related, and those who are in mourning, feel comforted amongst all the mourners of the people of Israel, and we'll add all the nations in the world. So onward, and in health and in happiness, from strength to strength. Thank you. Okay, so